News alert, a 225-square-mile debris field has been discovered in the search for that cargo ship that went missing with 28 Americans on board during Hurricane Joaquin. Joining us right now with breaking details is maritime expert and an attorney specializing in the field of maritime law, Rod Sullivan. Rod, what did they find so far?
Well, what they found that's most significant is a major oil slick. Now, that means to me that it's more likely than not the ship broke in half before it sank. A ship that founders, that simply fills up with water and sinks, doesn't leak its oil. It leaks its oil over the period of many weeks and years. Here, they've got a big oil slip indicating that the ship broke up.
Why do you think at this point they haven't found a lifeboat? Do you think they couldn't get into them?
I think that's what happened, and I'm very surprised because I expected with as much warning as they had that they would make it into lifeboats and life rafts. But at this point, I think maybe the 150-mile-an-hour winds, the 15-degree list of the ship, and the 30-foot waves made it impossible for them to get into a lifeboat or into a life raft.
And today they're calling into question why the captain took off with the storm coming. But as it turns out, weren't they way to the side and would have been clear had the storm, and I didn't realize this until this morning, the storm was going to the north and then suddenly did a loop right into them.
Yeah, it was a terrible situation. We have a storm that's heading to the northeast. We have a vessel that's heading to the southeast, and the captain thought that he would pass clear. But this, hurricanes are unpredictable, and this storm made a loop, and a loop at a very, very unfortunate time for the ship because it put the center of the hurricane right over the track of the ship, and that was something that was unanticipated, I believe, when they plotted this course.
Sure, and so they have found, I think they've found some floating life rafts, or rather some things that are buoyant, including a styrofoam, but it really is that oil slick, and that's why you feel confident in, you study this kind of thing, that the ship broke in half.
Yeah, it's one of those signs that you look for. If you remember the Korean ferry Seoul, when it sank, it did not break up, and it produced virtually no oil slick. In this case, when you have an oil slick immediately after the ship sank, that to me is a good indication that the ship broke in half and the oil tank were split in the course of that sinking.
It's just terrible. All right, Rod Sullivan joining us today from Jacksonville, Florida. Rod, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. 20 minutes after the top of the hour on this Monday, coming up, the ACLU suing to force